Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, October 1st. I am Khalil Kato with the details. This country has recorded another death from dengue fever, bringing to 5 the number of persons who have so far died from the mosquito-borne illness. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment today confirmed that a 40-year-old female of McCarthy is the 5th person to die from complications due to dengue fever. The patient reported feeling unwell for 1 week and presented to the Accident and Emergency Department yesterday and was admitted to the ICU in critical condition. The ministry said as of Tuesday, September 29th, there were 514 laboratory-confirmed cases of dengue fever recorded in SVG. It said the Hospital Services Program and the Community Health Services Program continue to report increases in patients presenting with symptoms consistent with dengue fever, and measures to manage this surge in demand for care have been implemented. These include increased doctors, nurses, and beds. The Pharmaceutical Services Program has now concluded that the papaya leaf extract can be used to safely augment the care for patients with dengue fever. There should be a statement providing the justification for this recommendation, and the guidance for the use of papaya leaf extract has been released. The Vector Control Unit of the Environmental Health Department, working with partners including BRAGSA, the Ministry of Agriculture, and NGOs, continues to aggressively implement resource reduction strategies. The ministry says these include increased fogging, clearing of river mouths, and debushing. Health promotion activities, also part of the Integrated Vector Control Strategy (IVC), will continue with the engagement of communities, churches, and other non-governmental organizations. The Ministry of Health is reminding that the fight against dengue fever is a shared responsibility, and the public is therefore urged to continue to work with the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment to reduce the risk of persons being infected with dengue fever. In response to the dengue outbreak here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, opposition member of Parliament Daniel Cummings has said that the Ministry of Health had prior knowledge and information that could have helped in the proper planning to deal with the dengue outbreak in the country.
2012, 38.7. 2013, 45.6. 2014, 29.7. 2015, 38.3. And 2016, 46.1. In other words, nearly 1 in every 2 houses in the country had containers that could breed Aedes aegypti mosquito in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, friends, if that doesn't alarm a Ministry of Health, if that doesn't call for drastic measures to deal with this Aedes aegypti, having come off the chikungunya, having come off the Zika, knowing all the problems with it, and remembering that this is the same Aedes aegypti mosquito that spread those diseases.
Cummings added that the Minister of Health is also aware of the challenges his ministry faces, but fails to act.
Be up for an attack of dengue. Our last attack was in 2012. These things happen generally in cycles. So what CAFRA told them in 2019 is something the Ministry of Health should have known already. What is their response? Reduce the allocation for the department that deals with the vector-borne diseases. I tell you, go and speak with some of the vector control officers. You will hear their horror stories about wanting to go out to do monitoring and their vehicle being commandeered to do other things for private purpose.
The principal of the Girls' High School, Michelle Beach, is pleased with the performance of the 144 girls who sat the CSEC exams this year. The school topped the results with an overall pass rate of 97.88%. Beach said that the students sat 29 subjects and scored 100% in 18 subject areas with increased grade 1s.
Not only were they able to do that, but their grades also peaked in the 1s. We had 691s. We also had Let me give you the exact figures that I had there. Let's see. We had 691s and I think 575 twos. We only had one grade 5, and this was for math.
Beach said that despite the pandemic, the teachers worked well with students. Speaking about this year's top student, Paige Cadogan, the principal said they were expecting her to do well.
Paige has been a very consistent student throughout. She tied for first in the CPEA when she came into the girls' high school, and she has been first throughout her 5-year tenure here, except for once, I think it was, when I was checking the grades and so on. So she has been extremely consistent. So she has worked hard, but she also had a challenge for her brother, who was also top student a few years ago, and she told him that she was going to beat him, and she did.
Meanwhile, the school's mathematics and English teachers said they are also pleased with the results.
We had to deal with uploading all SVAs. That was a challenge. In the past, they would simply ask for 5 SVAs, but we uploaded for every single student. That was a challenge, but nothing that we couldn't overcome. Outside of that, and the fact that the students only had English paper 1, and they actually didn't have to write.
The St. Vincent Grammar School was the 4th best performing school in this year's CSEC exams, and according to headmaster Alfred John, the school recorded an increase in its overall performance, moving from 91% in 2019 to 93.32% in 2020. The school's top student is Danielson Ferguson, who gained 13 subjects with 10 grade 1s. John said he is elated for the 141 boys who sat the examination this year, comprising 126 fifth formers and 18 fourth formers.
The fact that the students were made to come back to school for an additional 5 weeks, I think that helped to get them back on track. If they had, drifted and relaxed a little too much, And the boys, they're intelligent students, huh? And although we constantly complain that they are not working as, as persistently as the girls, last minute they put in a lot of effort and they get results. The student who gained the most subjects was Danielson Ferguson. We also had two students who gained 12 subjects each. Richard Ambrose and Philip John, both of them got 12 subjects. Ambrose got 8 grade 1s. But coming to Slack, Giovanni Slack, he did 11 subjects and he passed all of them with 10 grade 1s.
John noted that 8 boys were not too pleased with their grades and the examining body may have them reviewed.
Well, it's not really a critical thing for us here, all right? As I mentioned, it's just a few students who are not happy with the grades. We have a case where about 5 students got ungraded for a particular subject, a business subject. But we are not really perturbed. We know that that adjustment is going to be made, and ultimately they are going to have a grade, whether it's a grade 3 or 2 or a 1. I think there might have been some issues with the SBA. Maybe it's not showing in the system somehow, but we know that the students did the SBA, and I expect CSEC to rectify that. We've already indicated our intention to query.
Meanwhile, the English and geography teachers of the school say those subject areas saw an increase this year, and the teachers said they are proud of the boys.
This year, in terms of English A, we have recorded a pass rate of 99.2%, and I think it's a slight improvement. I can't remember what's the exact figure, but I think last year it was 98 point something.
Scored a 96 0.7% pass rate. In fact, geography is just one of the subjects in the humanities department, which also includes social studies and history. In fact, we would have scored 100% passes in history and also 98% pass rate in social studies, as well as art, which is also in the department, which scored 100% passes this year in the CSEC exams. These scores certainly, they are an improvement over 2019 results. If I were to speak specifically about geography, it is in terms of the quality of the grades. Overall, we scored much more grade 1s this year as opposed to last year, and that is significant in terms of what we had to go through in terms of the COVID. So the boys would have done exceptionally well.
The St. Martin's Secondary School has placed second overall in the CSEC this year with a percentage of 94.48%. In a press release, the school stated that this was a significant improvement over the 2019 results, which had a pass rate of 87.98%. A total of 61 students took 490 examinations in 26 subject areas. 12 subject areas returned 100% passes and 6 received 90%. All other subject areas gained upwards of 75%. The subjects with the greatest improvement were mathematics, moving from 43 to 83%, and economics from 41 to 75%. The top 4 student performances came from Matthew Trotman, who got 8 subjects at grade 1 and 2 subjects at grade 2. Rhett Matthews achieved grade 1 in 6 subjects and grade 2 in 3 subjects. Kyle Henry obtained 4 passes at grade 1, 5 at grade 2, and 2 passes at grade 3. And Mitchell Israel Duharte got 3 subjects at grade 1, 5 at grade 2, and 2 at grade 3. The release further stated that during the 2019-2020 academic year, the St. Martin Secondary School had made several strides overall in the way forward, and it is safe to say that the school led the way in online education in St. Vincent and the Grenadines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Its upgraded learning platform has become an integral part of teaching and learning in this new era. Principal of the St. Martin Secondary School, Johannes Gibson, said he is quite pleased with the excellent student performance in the exams and praised his staff for their time and effort to their teaching and learning endeavors, as well as the lifelong benefit to students. Paige Cadogan of the Girls High School, who topped the 2020 CSEC results, is pleased and satisfied with her results and was not among the students asking to review her subjects. Cadogan, who is also a guider, sat 15 subjects and obtained 14 grade 1s and 1 grade 2. She told SVG-TV News that she is happy that the exams are over, bearing in mind the delays experienced.
When I got my results, I was very happy with them. Very relieved that everything is finally over with and the results finally came out. And I know that some people would like to review their results because they didn't get what they think they deserve. And I hope that in the end they do get what they deserve. And yeah.
Cadogan sat mathematics in 2019 and obtained a grade 1. So in total, she has 16 passes. She explained that sitting the CSEC 2020 exams had its own challenges, but she was well.
Personally, we had a cut-off of face-to-face classes and we had to go home and do a bit of online learning. That was a little bit stressful by itself, having to not being able to be in a school environment. But other than that, preparation-wise, mainly just practicing past papers over and over again, making sure that I got them as perfect as possible, going over my notes that I've gotten from since Form 4, and making sure that I knew all the main points and everything like that.
The top CSEC student said she is grateful to her teachers and family who helped and supported her in accomplishing her goals at the secondary school level. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, in a virtual address to the United Nations Biodiversity Summit yesterday, says the world is badly wounded with a deepening climate change crisis, global biodiversity challenges and failures, and now the COVID-19 pandemic. He said in order to tackle these challenges, global partnerships, including between government and private sector and civil society, are vital. PM Gonzalez noted that SVG has found ways to promote major industries and protect biodiversity, including the establishment of a coral reef early warning system in the Tobago Keys, a ban on styrofoam containers, and employing better ways to regulate the disposal of grey water from coastal businesses.
We plan to protect further our reefs by restricting the types of sunscreen and used by swimmers and divers and beachgoers. We're taking comprehensive action that will slow beach degradation and protect our coastal assets. Coastal and river defenses are being put in place, but it is all very costly for a vulnerable small island developing state like ours. I take this opportunity to commend Vincentians, both individuals and businesses, for the actions they are taking to protect our rich biodiversity and our environment as a whole.
Thanking the international partners for working with SVG to foster even better cooperation and partnerships, PM Gonzalez says, as always, much more needs to be done to tackle the issues with biodiversity.
Excellencies, collectively, the world is lagging way behind in achieving the goals of the 3 Rio Conventions on climate change, desertification, and biodiversity, integral parts of a composite whole on which our very survival depends. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought into focus the dangers of destroying biodiversity, as well as underscoring our dependency on each other. Let us build back, not just build back better, but to build back optimally and enduringly for all humanity's sake.
A member of Parliament for East St. George, Camilo Gonzalez, says the stakes are very high for the upcoming general elections. He is, however, confident that Vincentians will return the ruling Unity Labour Party to office. Speaking last night at the party's virtual meeting, the finance minister said the election campaign is being done under unique circumstances in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there are a lot of fundamental issues which the electorate will have to decide on in determining who will govern the country for the next 5 years.
This election is about so much more. Who has a plan to make the AIA work and attract more hotels and jobs to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Who has a plan to expand the fisheries sector and employ more fisher folk? Who has a plan to further develop our call centers and employ hundreds more young people? Who has the plans to develop a modern port and a modern referral hospital? Who has a credible plan to combat climate change? Who has a plan to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines a credible, respected, and influential voice on the global stage? And who is taking principled stands on a host of crucial issues, from reparatory justice to non-interference in sovereign affairs, to whether or not we have the right to pretend that the 24 million residents and citizens of Taiwan do not exist.
Speaking on the Citizenship by Investment program, which the opposition says it will introduce if elected, the finance minister again rejected the program, noting the importance of SVG's passport, which should not be up for sale.
Your passport is more than a collection of pages and some ink. It is, to quote our comrade leader, the outward sign of the inward grace of citizenship. It is a sacrament of our citizenship, and it can never be a commodity for sale. Young people say, "Me nah sell out my friend them." And they're right. Some things cannot be bartered or sold for 30 pieces of silver. That sense of ownership of our history and our destiny is indescribable, but it is also priceless. Citizenship is the highest honor in our land, and it is an honor that is not for sale.
Minister Gonzalez said the level of corruption and theft surrounding CBI programs around the world is insurmountable, with many reputable entities, including the European Union, taking measures to tighten the screws on these programs.
If the EU could bring the region's offshore financial sector to its knees, and they have, imagine what they could do as they gradually tighten their focus on the relatively small number of passport sellers. Imagine this also. Why would anyone buy our passport over another island's? And Carlos hinted at it. Would they buy our passport because it has a longer history? Or because they like the color? Or maybe because they think Leacock is a more trustworthy passport salesman than those in other islands? No. They will buy it because it is cheaper or because it is less regulated. That is how you break into a market like this one. By being cheaper, quicker, or easier. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that the race to the bottom has begun with the passport selling countries. They're having 2-for-1 sales. They're having family sales. They're having buy the daddy and get the wife and the children free. And as the new kids on the block, we would have to follow suit. Yeah.
The ULP's candidate for East Kingstown, Luke Brown, in an address at last night's virtual meeting, has said that as Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, he has served to the best of his abilities, and that under his tenure, the country's healthcare sector has gone through a number of transformations, and in the last 5 years have seen monumental improvements.
Being, for instance, a transformation of the healthcare infrastructure in this country by the opening of an unprecedented number of new facilities. And we're going to take the stakes even higher when we build the acute referral hospital in Arnoldsville. I want to say that in the past 5 years as Minister of Health, I have opened more health facilities than any other Minister of Health in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I set out, and I think I succeeded to a fair extent in this matter, to raise the flag or to keep the flag of St. Vincent and the Grenadines flying high at all international forums, including the World Health Assembly. I did all this for you. I did all this for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I was wide awake and delivering results for the people of this country for the past 5 years in this capacity.
And Member of Parliament for North Windward, Montgomery Daniel, said residents of the constituency and the wider population of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have benefited from many policies and programs instituted by the ULP over the last 20 years.
The education revolution. This has transformed many societies. The establishment of a secondary school in Sandy Bay. We are proud of it. The housing revolution, where 1,900 homes would have been built. HLDC, kudos to you. Through the social services programs established under the Ministry of Social Development, thousands would have benefited from the programs, including the YES program, the SET program, public assistance program, the Life to Live program, and many more. We have seen the revival and the revitalization of the arrowroot industry, where this year 127 farmers benefited from payouts of $1.7 million. We would have seen improvement in networks of road, particularly from Georgetown to Fancy and a number of village roads. We would have seen the establishment of a fishing complex at Oya. Boats have it.
Carlos Williams made his maiden speech as one of the new candidates on the ULP slate. He will be trying to take the seat from the NDP leader, Dr. Godwin Friday, in the Northern Grenadines. Williams, who is originally from Barrowley, thanked the people of the Northern Grenadines for embracing him, noting that as their next MP, he will be charting a visionary course for them over the next 5 years.
To define the actions for which we can and must be held accountable. For the Northern Grenadines, I have a vision However, I am not being naive to the fact that if we are going to make the change in the Northern Grenadines, it will take serious effort. You know, I am not naive to that, but we are going to do that. We are going to do this.
Break every chain. Break every chain.
Friday has adopted, in my book, an attitude. They are doing okay in the Northern Grenadines for far too long. Far too long. He have taken the ferry daily. I have traveled with him between Simbinso and Bekwai, sailing away from what? Sailing away from what goes on the Northern Grenadines. A disconnect. Northern Grenadines, this time around, must take his rightful seat. And I'm going to see to that. That rightful seat at the national governance, guided by this Unity Leader Party.